6 months after the conclusion of the general elections, first meetings of the parliamentary thematic committees were held today. While the meetings discussed the jurisdictions of the committees, voices were also raised regarding investigations into the fake Bhutanese refugee scam. Good evening, I'm Sarah Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. Government makes preparations to present its policies and programs for the next fiscal year on the 19th of May. Ruling coalition making efforts to include recommendations of all entities. Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister Shrestha claims the government will not be influenced by pressure from any entity on investigations into the fake Bhutanese refugee scam. South Africa Army Chief visits Moscow. The tour follows American allegations that weapons were loaded onto a Russian ship in Cape Town back in December. And Inter Milan aim to finish the job against city rivals AC Milan as the teams reconvene at San Siro in the second leg of UEFA Champions League. Match slated for 12:45 a.m. kickoff. Final hearing on the case against Resham Chaudhary, who is behind bars after being found guilty of involvement in the Thikapur massacre by the district and High Court, has concluded at the Supreme Court. Hearing has concluded on the case against Chaudhary at the joint bench of Supreme Court Justices Ananda Mohan Bhadrai and Nahakul Subedi. 8 security personnel, including Senior Superintendent of Police Lakshman Neopane and a boy, were killed in the massacre during the protest with the demand of Tharuhat province after the demarcation of provinces on the 24th of August 2015. Finding 13 individuals guilty of involvement in the massacre, including Resham Chaudhary, Kailali District Court had slapped a life sentence on them on the 24th of February 2019. Around 2 years later, the High Court Dipayal upheld the life sentence on 8 individuals, including Resham Chaudhary, on the 18th of December 2020. Chaudhary had then moved to the Supreme Court against the verdict of the Kailali District Court and the High Court. The entity formed under his leadership, Nagarik Unmukti Party, is currently in the government, while Chaudhary's spouse Ranjita Shrestha is the Minister for Land Management, Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation. Meanwhile, Sitaram Chaudhary and Gangaram Chaudhary have been acquitted. Lakshman Tharu Chaudhary's sentence has been reduced to 3 years from the initial 5. The government has made arrangements to present its policies and programs on the 19th of May. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal and Speaker of the House of Representatives Devraj Khimere have held discussions in this regard. At the meeting held at the official residence of the Prime Minister in Balwatar, Premier Dahal informed of the government preparations to present the policies and programs on the 19th of May. The meeting also delved into the meetings of the parliamentary committees. According to the Prime Minister's Secretariat, discussions were also held regarding the parliament meetings, policies and programs and the budget. Based on the constitutional requirement, the government must present the new budget on the 15th of Jait as per the Nepali calendar. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Home Affairs Narayan Kaji Shrestha has said that the government would not be influenced by any kind of pressure regarding investigations into the fake Bhutanese refugee scam. At today's meeting of the State Management and Good Governance Committee, Minister Shrestha said that Nepal Police has been directed to operate without being influenced by pressure from any corners regarding investigations into the case. Expressing commitment of investigations into other cases of corruption as well, Minister Shrestha noted that it was the responsibility of the government to take actions against those involved in corruption cases. At the meeting, Nepali Congress parliamentarian Bishop Prakash Sharma had demanded answers from the government regarding the fake Bhutanese refugee scam. Saying all parties were supporting investigations into the scam, Sharma stressed on proceeding with the investigations by ensuring that actions were taken against everyone involved, while those not guilty were not dragged into controversies. First meetings of the 10 thematic committees of the House of Representatives have been held today. The thematic parliamentary committees have been activated after 6 months since the conclusion of the general elections. Considered the mini parliaments, meetings of the thematic committees held today concluded after introduction and discussions regarding their jurisdiction. The Law and Human Rights Committee had decided to proceed with discussions on the bills related to money laundering and transitional justice at the earliest. At the meeting chaired by the senior-most member of the committee, Sher Bahadur Deuba, members demanded for proceeding with the bill at the earliest. A total of 105 amendments have been filed on the bill related to money laundering, while 186 amendments have been registered on the bill related to transitional justice. Meetings of the committees held today were chaired by their senior-most members. Based on the existing arrangements, chairperson of the committees must be selected in 15 days after the first meeting. Prior to this, the committees were not active because of polarization among the political parties on the leadership of the committees. The parties had reached an agreement on the leadership of the committees on the 14th of May. Finance Minister Prakash Sharan Mahat has hinted towards no allocation of funds under the jurisdiction of the parliamentarians in the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Despite pressure from parliamentarians to allocate certain funds for projects for each electoral constituency through an infrastructure development partnership program, Finance Minister Mahat has hinted towards no possibility of such an agreement. Citing poor economic condition, Minister Mahat said that the budget could not be very flexible. Meanwhile, Minister Mahat also said that the fake Bhutanese refugee scam had dented Nepal's image in the international community. He further went on to clarify that Nepali Congress would not immediately take actions against Balkrishna Khand, who has claimed that he was not involved in the scam. The government has approved a new curriculum for 7 subjects of school level as per the National Curriculum Framework. The meeting of the Curriculum Development Board chaired by the Minister for Education decided to implement the new curriculum for Sanskrit history, Puran, Darshan Shastra and Vastu Shastra. Likewise, the Curriculum Development Center has said that new curriculum of Awadhi language will be implemented for grades 9 and 10, as well as new curriculum for Hadith Sharif and Quran will be implemented for grades 11 and 12 of a Madrasa education system. Teachers, meanwhile, have complained that students have been facing difficulty amid absence of books according to the new curriculum. The Curriculum Development Center has also begun preparations for the curriculum for technical subjects. Chairperson of the National Assembly, Ganesh Timalsena, has alleged the government of negligence in delivering the Malinchi drinking water to the Kathmandu Valley. Following the monitoring and inspection of the project site by the National Concern and Coordination Committee, Chair Timalsena alleged the government of indifference towards proper distribution of Malinchi drinking water in Kathmandu Valley. The Executive Director of Malinchi Drinking Water Development Committee, Kamal Raj Shrestha, said that the main gate of Ambathan tunnel has been closed as the dam could sustain damages even if majority of the structures have been reconstructed. In the meantime, distribution of Malinchi drinking water has been halted in the Kathmandu Valley from 19th to 29th of May. Assessment meeting of the Higher Education Project, which was initiated in 2021 with the support of donor agencies, has begun today. The Higher Education Project came into operation with the objectives of improvement in quality, stressing research-based education, development of market-based programs, and enhancing the capacities of the teachers and officials. The assessment meeting is held every year. The first day of the meeting, attended by representatives from the University Grant Commission, World Bank and other donor agencies, has concluded that the Higher Education Project was in a satisfactory stage. The University Grant Commission has said that it has been implementing several directives focused on improvement of education at all the 11 universities of the country. The assessment meeting will continue for 7 days. District Administration Office Ilam has begun efforts to upgrade its jails. With the objective of upgrading the jails, the administration has operated a shop in the model of cooperatives inside the detention facility. According to the administration, the inmates are no longer required to make their required purchases at a high cost through middle persons following the operation of the shop. There are a total of 276 inmates, including 20 women at the facility. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: what should be done to address the issue of malnutrition in Karnali province? The options are A. Improve access to food, B. Promote local production, and C. Awareness campaign. Voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. The commander of South Africa's ground forces has visited Moscow for talks with Russian counterparts just days after Washington accused South Africa of secretly providing arms to Russia. The South African National Defence Force said on Monday that the meeting was planned well in advance as part of a long-standing arrangement and was a goodwill visit at the invitation of the Russian army. In a statement, SANDF said it confirms that the chief of the SA Army, Lieutenant General Lawrence Mabatha, was in Moscow for a bilateral between the two military establishments. Russian news agencies reported earlier on Monday that Mabatha was heading a delegation that discussed issues relating to military cooperation and interaction. Mabatha had visited educational institutions of the ground forces and enterprises of the military-industrial complex of Russia, the agencies said. Last week, United States Ambassador to Pretoria, Reuben Brigetti, said that the U.S. believed weapons and ammunition had been loaded onto a Russian freighter that docked at a Cape Town naval base in December. Brigetti said he was confident that a Russian ship under U.S. sanctions took on board weapons from the Simonstown base in December, suggesting the transfer was not in line with Pretoria's stance of neutrality in Russia's war against Ukraine. South Africa officials swiftly rejected claims made by the U.S. ambassador, who also said senior U.S. officials had profound concerns over South Africa's professed policy of non-alignment and neutrality over Russia's war in Ukraine. At least 10 people were killed and up to 30 others were believed unaccounted for after a blaze broke out overnight at a 4-story hostel building in downtown Wellington, capital of New Zealand, police said on Tuesday. Fire and emergency were called to the Loafers Lodge hostel on Adelaide Road in central Wellington around 12:30 local time on Tuesday, where a fire started from the top floor. A total of 52 people were taken out of the building and at least 5 were rescued from the roof, but others remain unaccounted for. 5 people were sent to hospital, including 2 in serious conditions. A spokesperson from the Fire and Emergency Department said there were around 90 people in the building, and after evacuation, around 30 people were still unaccounted for. Talking to a morning news program, New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said there could be more fatalities. Thailand's incumbent Prime Minister Prayuth Chan-o-cha thanked voters and congratulated all parties today after suffering a major loss in the country's general election. Prayuth, who arrived at the Government House for a weekly cabinet meeting in his first appearance since Sunday's ballot, extended wishes to all the parties that have received votes from the people and said from now it was a transition and formation of a government. The Move Forward Party and opposition heavyweight Pheu Thai dominated polls, potentially signaling the end of years of control by army-backed parties. Their alliance would need to ensure its efforts to form a new government would not be stymied by a military appointment Senate, which gets to vote on a prime minister in a bicameral sitting of a 750-member legislature and has a record of favoring conservative parties led by generals. Vodafone's new boss, Margarita Della Valle, has announced of plans to cut 11,000 jobs over 3 years to simplify the telecoms group, which she said must change as it forecast a 1.5 billion euro decline in free cash flow this year. The job cuts are the biggest in the history of the group, which employs around 100,000 people. Vodafone said it would generate about 3.3 billion euros of cash this financial year, compared with 4.8 billion euros in the year to end March, it reported on Tuesday, and around 3.6 billion euros expected by analysts. Germany, its biggest market, was underperforming, it said, which combined with higher energy costs resulted in a 1.3% decline in group core earnings to 14.7 billion euros for the year to end March, missing its own guidance. Growth in Africa and higher handset sales, however, enabled it to eke out a 0.3% rise to revenue to 45.7 billion euros. Vodafone has recently cut jobs in several of its big markets, shedding 1,000 in Italy earlier this year, and a media report said it was looking to cut around 1,300 in Germany. On the proposed tie-up of its British business with Hutchison's 3 UK, Vodafone said there could be no certainty that any transaction would ultimately be agreed. A Nigerian chef has spent 100 hours preparing meals non-stop, aiming to set a Guinness World Record for the longest ever cooking session by an individual. Hilda Bassey, a chef in the mega city of Lagos, has captivated the country with her marathon cooking, which started on Thursday and ended on Monday night. President Muhammadu Buhari and several politicians and celebrities congratulated Bassey while cheering supporters camped outside an events center to witness the 27-year-old chef preparing a mix of local and foreign dishes, from jollof rice to pasta and akara, which is made from bean flour. The current longest cooking record is held by Indian chef Lata Tondon, who set a time of 87 hours and 45 minutes in 2019. Bassey's time will need to be certified by Guinness World Record officials before it can be made official. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.